3 hours. That movie was 3 hours. And I love Ari Aster, but my God. The only length of that runtime that actually had anything to do with some sort of story for that film was like 50 minutes. That movie was 3 hours. And only 50 minutes of it had anything to do with any purpose or giving you any sense of why you're sitting here watching this thing. The rest of that runtime is complete nonsensical bullshit. Beau, you're full of it. That's all I gotta say. You're not afraid of anything. You're full of crap. On to the review. Hey guys, it's your guy, The Chair here, and look, this is my review for Beau is Afraid, starring Joaquin Phoenix, Amy Ryan, Nathan Lane, and was directed by Ari Aster. And the best way that I can explain this plot to you guys is, basically we are following this character named Beau, played by Joaquin Phoenix, who essentially, from his point of view, we are literally just introduced to his entire world of fear, anxiety, just being absolutely, completely batshit crazy, paranoid all the time, and he is journeying to his mom's home, but there's just a lot of stuff in between that gets in the way. Basically, it's described on Letterboxd as an odyssey following a man's journey on his way home. Google here says that from his darkest fears comes the greatest adventure. Basically nobody knows how to explain what the hell this movie is, because from the very beginning, none of it made sense. The campaigning for this movie, the advertisements for this movie, the first trailers for this movie, none of it made sense. We were all just excited because Ari Aster was creating a new film. And let me just start with this. I absolutely adore Ari Aster. Ari Aster is a guy who I feel like is a guy who really thinks outside of the box. He really goes out of his way to try to go outside of the box as far as his methods in scaring you and trying to make you think during a movie. He's a very creative director. I appreciate him for that because he made 2 movies previously, Hereditary and Midsommar, that I believed breathed life or gave life back into the horror franchises at the time that they were released. When Hereditary came out, I felt like the horror genre was kind of dying off, or we were just falling into a lot of cliches of how to scare people and we weren't really doing anything new. Ari Aster had changed that with Hereditary. And then, of course, we had Midsommar, a movie that definitely freaked everybody out and just had everybody going crazy. Whether you thought the movie was good, crazy, or fantastic, everybody had an opinion on that film, and we all just had a crazy experience nonetheless. Like, that's what Ari Aster was delivering to us, crazy experiences, and we loved it, and we loved him for it. So we were excited to see what his next project is. But this thing just steps, like, so far away from not only the previous 2 films, but this steps so far away from his outside of the box thinking. I just think he was absolutely lost. He was just out in the Netherlands doing the land of nowhere, where I don't know where this guy was, man. This dude was just all over the place in this film. I mean, I don't even know where to start. I mean, like, normally the way I do reviews, guys, is I talk about what I liked about the movie and what I didn't like. And the majority of this review is probably going to sound like I hated the film. I did not hate the film. I'm going to say that. I was thoroughly disappointed by the film. Definitely. I was very disappointed by the film. And honestly, I see what he was trying to do here. I'll say this. The character Beau himself and the performance by Joaquin Phoenix is amazing. The character Beau himself is trying to tell a very important story about, from my perspective and what I got from the movie, is essentially we're getting his viewpoint on how he's just overthinking. And honestly, a lot of people can relate to the way Beau creates just scenarios in his head, and we can't tell what reality and, what reality and fake is, because, so many times we live in our heads creating scenarios of things that we are so afraid to live. I get that about the film. It's called Beau is Afraid. Beau is afraid to step out of his box and step out of his comfort zone and live. Anytime he hears something about life, anytime he hears something going on outside, he creates these scenarios in his heads and these crazy characters all in his head just to, prevent himself from trying to do anything new. I get that. But the problem is the way this thing is told, and the way that what I just said about Beau's character, the way that just plays out on screen, you get annoyed after a while, because honestly, in the beginning of this film, like, he's sitting with a therapist, and you really get a sense of the character there. And then once he steps outside, you get completely lost into what I believe is definitely Beau's version of what the world looks like to him. It's just absolutely complete and utter chaos. And honestly, that works for the character itself. And honestly, that's why I'm not too mad at the movie, because I get what Ari Aster was trying to do. Where he pissed me off is the fact that he took not only he took 3 hours to just tell this entire thing, but only 50 minutes of this film, and a majority of it is in the end, explains the purpose as to why you're sitting in this damn theater watching all this play out in the first place. The ending of this movie, and I'll say this, there's two things I have to say about these endings, but as far as like playing onto the story, the last like 15 minutes of this film is great. It's phenomenal, actually. It's really good. It really explains to you all why you were sitting in this theater for the last 2 hours and 45 minutes. But the problem is it takes too long to get there. It takes way too long to explain things. Where the other chunk of the 50 minutes goes as to the purpose of the film, it's kind of spread out sporadically through the film. There are some moments where Ari Aster definitely, like, he has you, or he had me at least. I thought I knew where this thing was going, and then immediately something happened just that throws me completely off my tracks, and I'm just like, what the hell are we sitting here? What is we watching? Like, Ari Aster was essentially trying to pull off Inception here. And honestly, it just really just pissed me off. It's really just it just irked me, because it's like, I see what you're trying to do here, dude, but like, you're just honestly creating so many different tones here. I'm not even sure what type of movie this is, how we're supposed to follow this. Like, dude, this is just crazy. Like, I appreciate, when movies have you go checking channels like Ending Explained and things like that, because you were kind of confused as to what happened. Those kind of movies are fun like that sometimes, when you need the ending explained to you. The majority of audiences that see this film are going to need not just the ending explained. They're going to need the entire movie explained to them, because while I feel like you should be able to get the purpose as to like the Beau character itself, anything else that really happens in this movie, you're just like, what the hell was it for? Like, what is the purpose of this? I get, Beau has a crazy world, and like, this is how he views everything, but it's just like a lot of things happening in this film are just happening to happen. I feel like Ari Aster's just being weird to be weird, and I know for a fact this is not a bad movie. I've seen bad movies, and I don't have that feeling about this. I don't think this movie is bad whatsoever. I think this movie does completely too much, and I think it's not even trying to be a movie. It's trying to display a message and do it in the most wacky way possible. Like, I'll say this, though. The performances in the movie were phenomenal. Everybody, Amy Ryan, Nathan Lane, everybody in the film, the side characters, well, the majority of the side characters. This one girl in the film, it was Amy Ryan and Nathan Lane's daughter. She was annoying as hell. I did not get the purpose of her character whatsoever. She just annoyed the hell out of me. But all the other side characters in the film, I thought that everybody gave great performances. And like I said, the very ending of this film, speaking of the ending of this film, the last 15 minutes is very important. There's something that happens with his mom towards the end that is very interesting in the beginning, and then it gets to this one part that completely made me realize I don't even know what to rate this movie. I don't know how to feel about this movie. I'm not going to spoil it for you guys. If you've seen the movie, I hope you know exactly what I'm talking about. I'll describe it this way. Shaft shows up in the movie. Yes, Shaft. That's the best way I can describe it. You can take it how you feel, but a shaft shows up in this film, and I don't know how to feel. I didn't know how to feel about that at all. I don't know what's going on, man. I saw a lot of gooch in this film too. That was another thing. I didn't want to see a lot of gooch. And if you know what gooch is, then yes, you were just as disturbed as I was. You hearing me say I saw gooch and you were disturbed, how do you think I feel? I saw the gooch in this film. I mean, this movie made me see a lot of things that I wish I could unsee. Actually, the one interesting thing I will say about, Ari Aster's out of the box thinking, this is the first movie I feel like I ever saw the therapist notes. Like when they write down stuff and people are normally like, what are you writing? What are you doing with that? Normally, we never get to see what they actually write. We get to see that here. That was the first time. That was pretty cool, I guess. But look, basically what I'm trying to say here is, guys, that Ari Aster is doing way too much to be different, to be outside of the box, and just try to make a film where, honestly, it has a very good message about not being afraid to try things and how we get in our way of a lot of stuff and how we can't necessarily make choices and we blame others for things, or we try to get others to do things because we're too afraid to even move on thoughts that we're coming up in our head. We're getting in our own way, etc., etc. There's a lot of good material there. Problem is, it's clouded by a bunch of nonsensical bullshit that Ari Aster's just coming up with. To honestly, I'm not sure if he's just trying to fuck with the audience or he's just trying to honestly get us to find a new way of loving filmmaking. I don't know what this dude is really trying to accomplish in this film, but look, I had a time. I had a time in this movie theater for sure. The audience that I was watching this with, first of all, the family next to me, it was a mom and dad and 3 kids. I don't even understand how y'all thought to bring your kids into this film in the first place. And then by the end of it, when I heard that the kids were saying the decision was between the Mario movie and Beau is Afraid, and the family, and they chose Beau is Afraid. What is wrong with y'all? What is wrong with people? You're a family. You had the option between the Mario movie and Beau is Afraid, and you decided to take your kids to Beau is Afraid. It's like y'all aren't even thinking at this point. Like, what, have you seen an Ari Aster film, or y'all just thought that was a good idea to just bring them into a movie like that? You know, it is what it is. And like, honestly, I wasn't even worried about that, but the fact that I found out that they were deciding between Mario and Beau is Afraid, and the kids chose Beau is Afraid, saying the trailer looked interesting, and by the end of the movie, the kids were very disturbed, asking the parents a lot of questions I feel like they didn't want them to ask. That's on y'all. That's y'all fault. I don't know what's wrong with people, yo. But look, overall, guys, this movie just made me feel a lot of discomfort. I was very disappointed. Speaking of disappointment, this movie was originally supposed to be called Disappointment Boulevard, and I feel like because he didn't get to have that title, he just wanted to disappoint all of us. And Ari, this just wasn't it, bro. I gotta be real with you. This one just wasn't it for me. I adored the performances, though. Joaquin Phoenix is amazing in the film, but he always is, man. Joaquin Phoenix is just, like, I feel like I don't even have to say that. Like, I'm honestly astounded at a lot of the stuff that not only Joaquin, but all of these actors pulled off in this film, because Ari asking them to do a lot of just dumb shit, and I'm really surprised that they were able to pull it off in a way that you are entertained, but at the same time you're feeling a sporadic amount of emotions. You're entertained, you're upset, you're disturbed, you're confused, you're all over the place. Sometimes you're laughing, you're uncomfortably laughing sometimes just to get through the situation. Another Ari Aster film, guys, but this one just falls way flat from the other 2 installments, Hereditary and Midsommar. I'm hoping that Ari Aster can get back to his roots with his next film, because this one completely lost me. But for all those reasons and so many more, guys, this is the first time I'm ever saying this in my life. I don't have a rating for this film. There is no rating for this thing whatsoever. It wasn't a bad movie. It wasn't a good movie. It was pretty average, maybe. I honestly don't know how to feel about this movie. I have no rating for this thing. Honestly, if we're being real, it can fall anywhere between 1.75 to maybe 3 stars. And that's honestly, a majority of that is just because I really want to give the performances the credit that they are due. The performances in this movie are amazing, and they're really the reason I'm not giving this thing a 0, but I don't have a rating for this film, so that's what I got. All right, guys, so Beau is Afraid. Have you seen it? What did you think about it? Please let me know in the comments below. And honestly, if there are any people out there who just heard my entire review and think that I didn't understand what went on in the film, or if stuff went over my head, please, if I missed anything, explain it. Don't be a dick about it, because I know a lot of people who watch A24 movies and think they're just in a higher class of film watching, that whoever doesn't get whatever happens on screen, they just think we're just dummies and things like that. No, don't be a dick. Explain in the comments for me, please. Don't be all uptight. But either way, guys, look, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. This is your guy in the chair. More content coming to you soon.